What's going on, YouTube? So GMC has been making moves recently when it comes to their crossover and SUV lineup. And one of the biggest pieces of that puzzle is this, the all-new GMC Terrain. Now, if you were paying attention to the channel, we covered the all-new Terrain last model year. But if you want a luxurious Terrain, now is the time that you can buy that finally. This is the 2026 GMC Terrain and its fully loaded Denali trim level. And we want to know, does this Terrain offer more luxury than the rivals and also at a lower price tag than many of the rivals? Let's go ahead and find out.
As always, let's start things out under the hood for a quick spec dump. This new Terrain is going to be powered by a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, making 175 horsepower. All-wheel drive models will be routed to the ground via an 8-speed automatic, and for this all-wheel drive Denali model, fuel economy is coming in at 25 mpg combined.
Now, the base price of the Terrain this year is $29,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on, we'll be taking it out for a spin to show you the performance, as well as get things like our sound level reading to see how quiet this Denali model is.
Now let's go ahead and shut up the hood, because a big part of this Denali packaging is the exterior design as well as the interior.
Now, like I said at the introduction, when this vehicle originally launched, it came out as an all-new model in 2025, and that was just the elevation trim level. But finally, here for the 2026 model year, we've unlocked all the trim levels. So that's going to be 2 additional trims. That will be the AT4 and this fully loaded Denali. And I have to say, looking at it here in person, this is one good looking SUV. It really has a lot of baby Yukon vibes, especially when you get this fully loaded example. So as far as the grille is concerned, you're going to have a very nice squared off shape to it. It's going to have that satin silver finish. And then the Denali is additionally going to add this silver accent down here at the bottom. Now, speaking of the bottom, I do want to point out, if you go for the AT4, which is the more off-road focused model, that's going to increase your ground clearance up to 7.9 inches, so it's 0.2 higher than the other versions. Now, as far as our headlights are concerned, we have some really nice lighting, and that's actually standard across the board. So you're going to have standard projector LEDs on every single Terrain. Additionally, if you get the AT4 Denali, you're going to get the dynamic turn signal. And then down at the lower fascia, we also have LED fog lights, which is increasingly becoming very rare. Now, when it comes to your wheels, you start with a 17-inch alloy design, and then as you move up the trim structure and end in the Denali, that gives you 19-inch alloys. We actually have the standard wheel option. You can go all the way up to 20s if you want the most blingy design, but I think these look quite nice, and we'll discuss ride quality a little bit later on. Now, as far as our wheel surrounds, all of that's going to be body color here on the Denali. That really amps up the premium design. We also, interestingly, have kind of a side marker light as well. Now, as far as your mirrors are concerned, every feature is standard equipment, so that will be heating and blind spot monitoring. You do not have power folding, though. Now, at the side, the Terrain is 181 inches long, and as far as design touches, you have a lot of chrome here for this model. We also have the chrome roof rails up top. I do additionally want to point out, if you really want to spice up your design, you can actually get a 2-tone roof option in either black or gray. So there's a lot of design customizability with this GMC Terrain, which I do really like. It's kind of like the Yukon and giving you all that customizability depending on what you prefer. Now, as far as the rear design is concerned, I really like this as well. It has a very handsome look to it. Definitely a lot more premium than some of the rivals in the segment. We have a spoiler up top. We have a exposed wiper right through here. Big prominent Denali branding, so you'll notice that Denali is really the center point of the rear. You do have some Terrain branding, but that's going to be a little bit lower. And then as far as our taillights are concerned, once again, very happy with this because we have a full LED taillight unit that includes your brake light, your reverse light, and your dynamic turn signal indicator. You also have a little bit of chrome to spice it up. Dropping down to the lower fascia, more chrome, no exposed exhaust outlets, and as far as your tow rating, it's 1,500 pounds with all-wheel drive or 800 pounds if you choose the front-wheel drive model. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, I'm happy to tell you that you're getting all 4 of those as standard equipment on the GMC Terrain. But one feature that you will notice that's missing from the bigger SUVs like the Acadia and Yukon is Super Cruise. That's not going to be offered even here on the Terrain Denali. But guys, I think you're going to be blown away by the cabin. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now it's time to check out this Denali's cabin, but first let's start out with your key, of course. You have your standard GM key. You do have some branding here on the back. You do have smart entry as well as remote start standard on all models. Now, to hop inside, you don't have a sensor behind the door handle, excuse me, but you do have this little chrome button on the Denali to go ahead and unlock the car. And go ahead and take a look at this very special Denali interior. As you can see, there's going to be a lot of elements brought down from bigger brother models such as the Acadia and the Yukon, and it also brings its own flair for the Terrain as well. But let's first start talking about your seat materials. You'll have a wide range of materials starting with premium cloth going up to Cortex leatherette, but when you go for the Denali, you do have this full leather seat with a lot of really nice details to it. You have the stitching detail, the white piping as well, and you do have your Denali stitched up in the top. It's a really nice and comfortable seat overall, and you can get it in a couple different colors. Now, as far as your seat adjustments, you do have 8-way power adjusting on the AT4 and above, and you also do have 2 ways of lumbar support. Standard on the Denali only is going to be memory, located over here in the side. But let's go ahead and check out all of the interior materials and technology. Now let's go ahead and take a second to dive into overall interior materials, and I think you're going to be impressed here. Starting out over here in the door trim, you're going to have a lot of leatherette going all throughout with a lot of stitching detail, which feels very, very nice. Up here you have a little bit of silver trim as well as some wood accents, and then up at the top is going to be some soft touch material as well. That, as well as some leatherette wrapping, continues all the way across the top of the dashboard. Here's more of that leatherette here. More of the wood trim. You're going to have a little bit of hard touch material here, as well as very nice leather padding on the center console as well. Everything feels very sturdy and well put together. But let's go ahead and start it up with the standard push button start. Now, as you can see upon startup, this new Terrain is centered around tech. So let's dive into some of these elements. Keep in mind, we're going to be focusing mainly on this Denali model today, since this is the top model with all of the available features. But let's start out with your gauge cluster. Standard on all models is going to be an 11-inch fully digital gauge cluster with a lot of customizability. You can go through a lot of different modes here, including putting Google Maps right there in your gauge cluster. Now, one thing that is missing from the previous generation that I am going to miss out on is a head-up display, so that is no longer available on any model of the Terrain. Now, moving back to your steering wheel, you're going to have a standard leather-wrapped one, as well as having standard heating for all of your Terrain models for this new generation. Also, on the AT4 and above, you will have rain-sensing wipers. But a big part of any compact SUV is going to be your storage, so let's dive into that, and I think you're going to be impressed here as well. So when I open up your center console, you're going to be seeing donuts here. That is because our logo at Car Confections is a donut, and we stuff our consoles full of them to give you an idea of what the center console volume is. For this Terrain, it will be 14 donuts, which is above our 12 donut benchmark and is going to be quite large in comparison to all of its other competitors in this segment. So very impressive. But the storage does not stop here. If you move up, you do see your wireless phone charging pad that will be on the AT4 and above. You have your cup holders here, another little bin here, and if Mason can move around to the side, you will see that there's a very large center pass-through as well to throw even more goodies in here. So you will not be short on storage here in this Terrain. Now, you do get all of this storage because you do not have a shifter here in the middle. It's going to be GM's new style of column mounted shifter. So you just push down for drive, you push back and up for reverse. And when you go into reverse, you are going to see a nice 360 camera, which is standard here on this Denali trim. You do have a lot of different views that you can choose from as well. And overall, the quality is very nice. I wish it would take up maybe a little bit more of this large display though. But to put it in the park, you just press P on the end of the stalk. Now let's begin to work our way up through this large screen here, but that actually begins down at the bottom here with some physical controls as well. So on the AT4 and above, you will have standard dual zone automatic climate, and you do have these really nice feeling toggles here down at the bottom for all of your main climate functions. And then you can also kind of click through some of the menus down at the bottom for some more customizability. You do also have access here in your touchscreen to your standard heated seats and the ventilated seats that are here on the Denali trim. That is not a given in this segment, so it's very nice to see. Now there is one more physical control to talk about, and that would be your volume knob. Now standard on every single model is going to be only a 6-speaker audio system. So let's go ahead and give that a sample. So while the overall quality of the system is good, I did say only 6 speakers because there is no offering at this point of a branded sound system on this new Terrain. I really wish they would bring in some sort of Bose system for those audiophiles that want to have overall better sound quality. But let's go ahead and talk about the overall screen as well as the technology within it. As you can see, this is a very large and standard 15 inches of overall display size. Now, there are some rivals that are similar, if not a little bit bigger than this Terrain, but I really am impressed that this is the standard screen size. If you're talking about big rivals like the CR-V, 9 inches is only going to be as big as you can go. So this is really an upgrade if you're coming from a model like that. Now, as you can see on the screen, you're going to have a lot of different functionality. Primarily, since this is a gas model from GM, you do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto running wirelessly. So you do have that on this model. You're also going to have overall your Google built-in system with Google Assistant, Play Store, and overall the response is very snappy. You also do have built-in Google Maps as well, which is very nice. Now moving up top, this camera mirror is going to be standard on the Denali trim itself and optional on some of the lower models. And in typical GM fashion, when Mason pulls back, you will see that all models will come optional with a full panoramic sunroof.
Now let's talk about the rear seat in the all-new Terrain. Now, when it comes to overall space numbers, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised because it is pretty big. About 39 inches of leg room and about 38 inches of headroom. Those are, like I said, pretty good figures. We expect that to be very much similar to the all-new RAV4, although it is slightly less than something like the Honda CR-V, so keep that in mind. Now, of course, we brought the official Car Confections ruler along, and the reason we do that is so we can see how much knee room you can find. Behind my own driving position, I'm 5'9" for reference. I'm looking at 10 inches of knee space. That's really, really quite good. And my feet can also slide up underneath of the seats. Now, these seats themselves, I will say, are quite comfortable back here, although they do not recline in any capacity. Now, if we fold down the center armrest, it has that nice, like, wide grain leather. We have 2 cup holders inside. And then as far as features are concerned, I'm happy to say that you have heated back seats. That's actually going to be standard here on the Denali version of the Terrain. So a lot of the rivals are not including that either. We have 2 air vents, and then down in the lower area, we have 2 USB-C ports. As far as the door trim is concerned, we have a pretty nice one. It's going to be hard touch on the upper part, but it's a little rubberized. I love that we still have that real wood trim. It feels very nice here on the Denali, and we have leather all through the armrest portion, and we even have a little bit of door storage. Now, walking up to the tailgate, the top 2 trims are going to come with a hands-free power tailgate. And as you open up this area, you will find a pretty good amount of space as well. So we're sitting at just a hair under 30 cubic feet of space Behind the second row of seats, if we fold those seats down, we're looking at about 63 cubic feet of maximum capacity. Now, you might be curious as to how that compares to a lot of the rivals. Like I said, this is a very hot segment with a ton of rivals, and we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings to see how it stacks up. On our website, we've gone through all this competition in the segment, and we've ranked them in individual categories, things like cargo space, interior technology, luxury, reliability, resale value, drive experience. All of that is detailed for you so you can see some of your best options in the segment and maybe some of your worst options in the segment. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now back to the terrain. As far as folding the seats down, they do fold 60-40 split. There are not any handles to get it in the cargo area, so I can just kind of reach up there and fold the seats down. For those of you that are a little shorter, though, you may have to go up to the second row to fold those seats down. Now, as far as the seats, they fold flat in the floor, and let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. This is a Car Confections review after all. 75 inches of cargo length behind my own 5'9" driving position. Behind the rear seats, 36 inches of length. As far as width, that's pretty good, 41 inches wide, and height is coming in at 29 inches. If we lift up the floor, we actually have quite a lot of additional space. Note that it goes all the way back here, and there is also a spare tire integrated underneath of the floor here, which is also becoming kind of rare in this segment of vehicle. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new GMC Terrain. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading so we can see how quiet this cabin is. But first, we need to start with a hard acceleration. All right. That was a brief acceleration up to about 55 miles per hour. Is a little bit spoiled by this red light, but that's definitely a good indication of what we have on board when it comes to the powertrain section. So if you were paying attention at the spec dump, we said that this model has, regardless of what trim level you select, a 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. It makes 175 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque. Overall, those are going to be on the weaker end when it comes to power figures for this segment. And you can feel that when you accelerate. This certainly isn't going to be the fastest compact SUV that you can get, that's for sure. But one thing to keep in mind is that most people buying in this segment, you're not going to be flooring it all the time. So just driving around town, it is perfectly adequate. But I do wish they had maybe a higher output motor available.
Yeah, we lived with this powertrain in the all-new Equinox as well for an entire week. There's one right there, actually. Yep. And we found it to be pretty good just getting up and around town. Unless you need to get somewhere in a hurry, that's where you start to notice some of the deficiencies of this motor.
But now it's time to talk about the other aspect of the powertrain, which is the transmission. So when it comes to the transmission on this, it will depend on if you get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. What we have today is the all-wheel drive example, which has an 8-speed automatic. Overall, this transmission is pretty good. It's definitely willing to downshift to give you the power when you need it, although it does take a little bit of time to do so. It's not the fastest transmission out there, at least when it's paired with this engine, but overall, it's reasonably smooth, and I think a big upgrade over what you get with the front-wheel drive model, which is a CVT instead.
Yeah, and that front-wheel drive model is only going to be available on the base elevation trim, so you probably won't see many units out and about with that certain setup, but I will also note that you drop down to 184 pound-feet of torque when you go for front-wheel drive. But now we are going down a straight stretch of highway at 55 miles an hour, so let's go ahead and get our signature sound level reading. We are on fan speed 1. Very good. We settled in at 55.3 decibels in this 2026 GMC Terrain Denali. And I don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to all of its competition. I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings to find that out. And overall, that is a pretty good sound level reading. It's not going to be the quietest in the segment, but it's certainly not going to be one of the loudest. And I think this Terrain also has some goodies up its sleeve that we'll talk about during the ride quality section that will help it be just a little bit quieter overall.
And we're just kind of cruising along the road here, and I think now is a great time to talk about ride quality. So like Josh was insinuating earlier, when it comes to your ride quality on this model, they have done some special things for the Denali. This has some smart frequency-based damping for the suspension setup. That does mean that it's going to have a really good ride quality. Even despite having those 19-inch wheels on the outside, this vehicle does ride very nicely. I've been very impressed with it, that's to say the least. I honestly think it rides better than some of the more affordable models. We actually tested out an Elevation on the channel about a couple months ago, and I think this is the nicer riding of the two despite having the larger wheels. These seats I find to be comfortable as well, so really no complaints in this department.
Now that we're sitting here in a little bit of traffic, let's talk about fuel economy for this Terrain. Now you do have a couple of different ratings. The front-wheel drive model will be rated at 27 mpg combined, and then there's two different ratings for your all-wheel drive models. The AT4 and the Denali will drop your highway rating just a little bit, but any all-wheel drive model will be rated at 25 mpg combined overall, which is not bad for an engine of this size.
That being said, though, we do really wish they offered a hybrid version of this Terrain. That's one of the areas that I think is the weakest about this model, is just the fact that there is no hybrid offering. The main competitor, CR-V, is over 50% of the models are hybrid exclusive now. The RAV4 is all hybrid exclusive, so I think that's just a big deficiency when it comes to this model. It could certainly benefit in the fuel economy department. It could certainly benefit when it comes to overall responsiveness and horsepower compared to the rivals. So that today is easily going to be the airball. We really need that hybrid powertrain, or at least a higher output motor. I think that's really where this Denali kind of falls a little flat. Is everything else is very nice, but when you start driving it, it's a little bit slow, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there are other options that exist, such as the 2-liter Turbo 4 that exist in the Cadillac XT4, as well as the Buick Envision, that I wish they would have just put into this more premium product overall, and the missing of a branded sound system. I think the Slam Dunk is easily going to be the overall luxury you're getting in this package, especially with the Denali. Now, we're going to discuss it here in just a few minutes, but the pricing is very equivalent to a lot of its rivals, if not even a little bit cheaper. So overall, you're getting a lot of value packed into this Denali that we really, really do like.
Just kind of going around the sweeping corner reminds me to discuss overall handling. When it comes to the Terrain, it's certainly not a focus of this vehicle. It does exhibit quite a bit of body roll as you go around corners. It's not bad per se, but it's definitely not as sporty as some of the options you could be looking at, like a Mazda CX-5 or CX-50. Those will definitely be your more athletic of the bunch. And, it's pretty much tuned like that just because that's what the average buyer wants. So like I said in the spec dump, this vehicle starts at $29,900 for the base Elevation trim level. Now, if you want the higher end versions like the AT4 and the Denali, that's going to cost significantly more. $38,600 for the AT4. Denali is $41,100. Now, do keep in mind those two trims come standard with all-wheel drive. As you can see, we have the 26 Terrain Denali all-wheel drive. We also do have the optional paint color, $495 for that, $1,395 destination. All told, we're sitting at $42,990 for this model you've seen today, which may seem like a high price point, but really a lot of the rivals are pushing $45,000 or more fully loaded. So this actually is cheaper than a lot of its main competition, which is what I was kind of hinting at throughout this video. Now, if you're looking to buy a GMC Terrain or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. We even have a monthly payment tool, so if you'd like to check all of that out, you can find a link to that in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this GMC Terrain's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 55.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles at 21.6%. Now, it's worth noting those are pretty good resale value percentages. It's actually above industry average, and really the only brands that will do better than that would be some of your Japanese rivals such as Honda and Toyota.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by creating the Combined Reliability Index, which takes into account a variety of data from trusted automotive resources. In our updated 2025 ratings, GMC is rated well above the overall industry average.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability information, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, GMC is protected by a 3-year 36,000 mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain, and you do get your first service visit covered complimentary. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the all-new 2026 GMC Terrain Denali. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.